Hello, hello, and welcome to this Unlearn and Rebuild the Truth About Wealth little series. It's not a series. I don't know what to call this. Really just some financial literacy and empowerment before we hop on our wealth health exam. Just giving you a little bit of information about the truth about wealth and reminding you about these tools that have always been available to us. It's just now it's time to use them. So you will learn a little bit about me and what is going to transpire during our time together. So just bear with me. I know financial literacy is not fun. I try to make it as fun as I can with my Funky Friday Finance, incorporating music, into financial literacy, but it doesn't have to be fun. It's just but it's something that we have to understand and learn and use, just like the wealthy have been doing for so long. And not even just wealthy people, but people who have a better grasp, on their time and on their freedom. So let's have some fun. I'm going to jump into this. If my computer is going to work for me here. So let me jump into this. That's the thing, systems so that money can come to us. So I remember watching my mom sit at the kitchen table with her checkbook, a stack of envelopes, and that look of not of worry. It wasn't a worry, but it was a look of wisdom for me. That look that said, let me teach you how this works. Let me teach you how money works. That kitchen table wasn't a place of lack for me. It was a place of learning. It's where my mom taught me how to budget, how to plan, how to invest, but most importantly, how to dream bigger. She taught me that money isn't meant to be feared or chased at all. It's just meant to be understood. Okay. So it's not meant to be feared or chased. It's meant to be understood. If you could write that down. So my mom, she didn't struggle with money. She did, when she was younger, going through college. But once I got into my elementary, middle school, high school years, she didn't struggle because she studied it. She worked with attorneys. She built a trust. She left my brother and me with not just assets and life insurance, but a mindset. You know what I'm saying? Like when she passed, she left behind over $500,000 in assets, life insurance, and cash. But what she really left us was a blueprint. That's the biggest thing. That's when we talk about a legacy and passing down wealth, right? That blueprint. She showed me what it looks like to be a financial matriarch, to sit at the table and make wealth this family conversation that's happening all the time and it's not uncomfortable. And now that's exactly what I get to do. I get to sit down at tables, sometimes in person, sometimes virtually, like I am now. And I help other families do the same because honestly, these tools have always been available to us. You'll hear me say this all the time. It's not that the information isn't out there, it's that too many of us were taught to manage money from fear and not from faith or strategy. I hear a lot of people say, well, our parents did the best they could. They did what they worked with what they had. And that's true. However, there were a lot of people that did step out of what was normal, what was passed down, and they studied this stuff, right? And they got the education and they changed the way that they live. So I just want to remind you that the knowledge has always been available. We just have to unlearn and then apply it. So my mother's table was my first classroom on generational wealth. And now I get to pay that forward, one family, one conversation, one strategy session at a time. So welcome, welcome. I appreciate you for being here. You are definitely in the right place at the right time. Just keep listening. I'm pretty sure you'll pick up some knowledge here because you're here and you're hearing the right message. So today, in the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to break down what I call the wealth health formula. And it's the same strategy that helped me shift from working for money to positioning my money to work for me. So, we're going to talk about language, mindset, time, and how the wealthy play a completely different game, one that you'll learn starting today. Okay. So, this is the wealth health formula, relearning what wealth really means. So, let's start with something simple, right? Let's talk about language. We'll just kind of start there because before we can grow wealth, we have to speak. Most of us were raised in what I call poverty language, sentences like money doesn't grow on trees. How many of you guys have heard that? Right? I just want to live comfortable. Money doesn't buy happiness. Yeah, okay. But then, I always say if that's the case, then give me your money. And I'll go somewhere and I will be happy with your money. Some other poverty language is as long as the bills are paid, I'm good. The rich should pay more taxes. Things have gotten really expensive, right? But wealth language is different. They talk about, yes, go to school, get good grades, and start a business, right? That's a wealth mindset. How can I make more money multiply? How can I make my money multiply? That's wealth language. Okay. Not, I don't have it, these bills is billing, that kind of thing. But what do I need to do to multiply my money? How can I buy my time back? Money buys freedom, peace, and time. How do I make my dollars work even when I'm not? Okay, that's wealth language. I'm telling you, that's the way. That's the way of living. One thing about me is I'll post, my slow mornings, and it's not to brag, because I've worked extremely hard to get here, to create this time and this peace and this freedom that I have to have slow mornings where I can wake up when I want to, start my day when I want to. I don't take my first meeting until 11 a.m. That way I can just wake up, go sit on my porch, drink my tea, talk with the birds, go sit in the sauna. I don't have this stress of having to hurry up and get to work, hurry up and make things happen, but that's because I've created from the strategies that I'm teaching you and we'll be talking about during your exam is how to create this financial freedom that allows me this time to have these slow mornings. Another wealth language is money is best exchanged for experiences, right? That's the beauty of wealth and money. You be able to see more, the things that you're able to see when you have the money versus when you don't. Man, it's two totally different things. One thing here you see on the poverty language side that I just put up, I saved this for last because I wanted to talk about this because I don't want anyone to ever think that I'm against getting a good job, right? Getting a good job is extremely important, extremely important. And my mother, who I mentioned, um, she left us $500,000 at the age of 54, and she worked a 9 to 5. She worked for the school district. She was a child psychologist. She made, good money for herself, single mom at that time, but she was not an entrepreneur. She didn't have a side hustle. She worked, but she managed her money properly and she invested her money properly. Had she still been around today, my mom would definitely be a millionaire. Definitely be a millionaire working a 9 to 5. So there's nothing wrong with a good job. These good jobs, we need these good jobs, okay? But why I put it over here on poverty language, because just to remind you that it's not just about having a good job only, okay? We got to look again, going back to the wealth language and how to multiply the money that we're making. So I'm going to show you how we do that, okay? So I just put that for last. So wealth is a language, and fluency definitely changes things. So when you hear things like money doesn't grow on trees, that's not a financial strategy. That's survival talk. As long as the bills are paid, I'm good. I just want to live comfortable. That's survival talk. Wealthy people don't talk like that. They say things like, how can I make my money multiply? Right? The difference is not just about income either, it's information. The financial literacy is really just learning a new language. And once you learn to speak wealth, you start to think like it, and that's where everything shifts. Okay. So let me get into this pie chart here. Most people don't realize that 97% of Americans are on the wrong side of money, and only 3% truly understand how wealth works. And we're going to put you in the 3%, okay? And it's not because the people in the 3% because they're smarter. That's definitely not the case, right? Because I hear that too when people begin to talk about wealth and wealthy people. They instantly go, their mind shifts to, well, that's not me. That's not me. I'm not wealthy. I'm not like, but you can be, right? You can be. It's just a process of being taught differently. That's the difference between the 97% and the 3%. Okay. See, wealth is it's not about formal education. It's about self-education. School teaches us how to make a living, but wealth education teaches us how to build a life. So, what really is wealth? Now, here, look, I know ownership is spelled wrong. This is when you use AI, but I really liked this image. I like this woman, her face, her confidence. So I kept it, but but wealth is the ability to own your time and still make money. Okay. It's not about having millions sitting in the bank. That is not what people think that, and it's not. It's one of those myths that I like to kind of dispel. It's really about having freedom. Freedom to wake up and decide how you'll spend your day, not how you'll earn your next check. One of my mentors told me recently, and it really like affected me and made me just kind of realize, how far I've come because I can relate to what he was saying. He said, you're not broke because you have a money problem. You're broke because your thinking is broken, right? Think about that. You know, we blame the trauma, our parents, or how we were raised, or what we've been around, and all of those things. But it really all boils down to your thinking. So that's what I want to be able to do for you. Number one is get you thinking differently, and then following the strategies that I'll give you. So yeah, that hopefully that hit you hard. Because for years, I know for me, I thought the goal was to make more money. It was always about making more money, more money. I spend my whole, even to this day, as a brand manager and business coach, teaching people how to make more money, more money, more money. But I learned that the real goal is to make more money. Okay, I'll say that again. The real goal is to make money, make more money. Okay, so I want you to get that. So let's talk about Mr. Start Early and Mr. Start Late. Okay, let's talk about time. Time is the most underrated wealth builder of all time. When you understand compounding, you know how interest grows on interest, you realize that time is more valuable than money. If you give a dollar enough time, it'll turn into 10, right? If you waste time, you'll spend $10 trying to make back that $1. So wealthy families, they understand this. So they start early, not because they have more, but because they understand the power of time in the market. So every dollar is a seed. When planted early, it multiplies through something called compound interest, which is the eighth wonder of the world. Albert Einstein said, "He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it." Think about it. Think about those late fees, those late charges. Think about the high interest credit cards, right? So he who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it, and it is compound interest. Okay. So now let me just kind of get into how your money grows. And this is what I call money trees. You'll see here that the fixed tree, this is your traditional bank. Your money's safe, it's not growing. You'll earn maybe about 0.02%. Okay. And you see it's not really, it's kind of sparse. You see that tree there? Variable, this is the stock market. This is your money. It grows when the market is up and it shrinks when it's down. It's risky, it's inconsistent, and it's very emotional. It's very emotional. So you see this variable tree is kind of like, it's full, but it's not full. It looks confused a little bit. And then you have index. This tree is just abundance. It's just looking, proper. And this is index, and this is the wealth strategy of the 3%. When the market goes up, your money grows. When the market goes down, your money stays protected, right? Your money stays protected. That's how wealthy people play the game differently. They remove risk, they leverage time, and let their money compound quietly, even while they sleep. That's what I call silent money. That's what I call silent money. So money should work harder for you than you ever worked for it. Okay? Money should money should work harder for you than you ever worked for it. Okay? So now let's just kind of go a little deeper into how inflation, taxes, and the rule of 72 affect your money every single day, and how you can finally start building your own economy instead of renting someone else's. Okay. So here, just want to talk a little bit about inflation. I won't go, too deep into it, but this is the silent thief of wealth, right? Inflation. When most people say things are getting expensive, which to me is a poverty language, I always ask, are things really getting expensive, excuse me, or is your dollar just losing value? For the past 10 years, yep, inflation has averaged about 3%, which is really low. That means your money loses 3% of its value every single year that it sits still, though. Okay, so if you've had $100,000 sitting in the bank for 10 years, you really lost about $30,000 in buying power, even though your account still says 100,000. Does that make sense? Because of inflation, right? So if your money isn't growing faster than inflation, it's shrinking. That's why the phrase cash is king to me is one of the biggest financial lies ever told. Cash sitting in a bank account isn't working, it's just quietly losing power. Wealthy people understand this. They don't save money, they position it. They plant it in financial vehicles that grow at a rate higher than inflation. So their money is always moving forward. So let's take a quick look at this pie chart here. 80% of their money is invested in cash value life insurance policies and stocks and other assets that are building what? Compound interest. 10% is usually like long-term holdings like real estate. Okay. And then the other 10% is usually in cash, but it's like liquid in the bank. It's not for comfort, it's just for emergencies. See, so when you have a wealth system in place, you don't need to hoard cash. You use strategies that make your lifestyle and your legacy tax efficient and self sustaining. Okay. So let's just talk about this wealth formula here. It's the foundation of everything that we've talked about. You got time plus capital plus rate of return, which capital and rate of return I haven't discussed a lot here. We'll talk about that when we meet, which is also very crucial to the wealth formula, minus inflation and minus taxes, and that equals your wealth. That's it. It's just these five elements that determine your financial future. So, of course, time is how long your money has to grow. That's why we have programs like the $1 Million Baby Program. Start them young, right? Capital, how much seed money can you plant? Okay, rate of return, how fast it multiplies. And then inflation and taxes is what silently eats away at your harvest. So most people focus on income, but wealth is built by understanding this formula. Once you know how the numbers work, then you can create your own economy. Okay, because excuse me, if the oh, you know what? I have a video about this. I love this. Create your own economy. Right? Because if the grocery store can run out of food and you've been growing your own, you're not worried about it because you have your vegetables, you have your fruits, you may have some chickens in the back. You're not worried about it because you have your own. You don't panic. So it's the same with money. When you've created your own financial system, you're not waiting on the government or your job or the next economy to save you. You've already built your own. Okay? You've already built your own. So let me give you a real life example. I always like to use myself and my clients as an example. So I had set up an index life strategy for my daughter when she was in her early 20s. It was only $156 a month. And that 156 grows tax free. It's safe. It's safe from creditors. It's safe from the IRS. It's safe from, she's currently a fiance right now. She gets married and gets a divorce. He can't come, he can't get that money. You know what I'm saying? And it compounds over time, outperforming inflation and creating nearly $2 million in value by the time she retires. Okay, so that's legacy money. $156 a month turns into $2 million by the time she retires. Okay, that's legacy money. That's the power of the wealth formula. Okay, so wealth is not built overnight, you guys. It's built over time and built with intention. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this, is this, okay? You cannot work your way to wealth. You cannot save your way to freedom. You learn your way there. Okay? You learn your way there. The same way my mother sat at that table, with me, you have the opportunity to sit at your table today and make your dollars multiply. Because once you understand the language, once you understand the formula, you'll realize that you were never broke. You were just uninformed. And from this point forward, you'll never look at money the same again. Okay. Financial freedom starts with financial understanding. Okay. So, here's what I want you to take from this entire conversation. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start, right? My mother taught me that financial literacy, and she taught me that financial legacy doesn't happen by accident. It happens through intention. And now it's my turn, like I said before, to just pass this down. I have this hashtag, passing down freedom, right? I'm passing down freedom to you because wealth isn't reserved for a select few. It's available to anyone willing to learn, unlearn, and apply what's already within reach. So wealth doesn't happen by luck. It happens by design. So if you're ready to sit at your own table and start building your family's wealth story, I invite you to schedule your free wealth health exam with me. If you've already done that, congratulations. If not, send this to a friend, a family member, an associate, a business partner, somebody that wants to have someone look at their numbers together and create a strategy and a formula for them. So I'm looking forward to sitting down with you. I'll show you exactly where your money can start growing and how to make your wealth work for you. Because the same way my mom sat with me at her table, I'm ready to sit with you at yours, virtually or in person. And this time, we're not talking about survival. We'll be talking about strategy, okay? So let's go ahead and schedule your free wealth exam today if you haven't already at chatwithari.com. And let's release the financial generational chains for good. Thank you for listening. I look forward to speaking with you and working with you, okay, and helping you strategize your wealth formula. Talk soon.